Welcome to the Effortless Mindfulness Podcast. I'm Loch Kelly, and here I share talks and deep dialogues with leading experts in the field of meditation, psychology, and neuroscience. Together we'll explore how everyday people like you and me can live an awakened life of clarity and compassion. You'll also find micro meditations in every podcast episode. If you want to try more of these, you can go to mindfulglimpses.com to download the new app to experience immediate benefits, because the love and peace we're all seeking is already here, anywhere, anytime. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome everyone. It's my great pleasure today to be here dialoguing with my friend and colleague, Tara Brach. Welcome, Tara.
I feel really delighted to be with you, Loch. Most of the liberating practice is undoing. It's like having a clenched fist, and if you just bring awareness into the clenched fist, there's no self that has to unclench. There's a natural, the muscles know how to do it. Awareness knows how to wake up. We, just need to pay attention. And I feel like the message for me behind what I'm listening to is that the more we get familiar with boundless awake awareness, the more it's like every time there's that glimpse, there is some place in us that knows that this is more true than any story or narrative ever. There's a resonance of truth. And the more glimpses, the more sense that not just I'm going to let go into awake awareness, but awake awareness is what I am. Um, that keeps calling us. And one of the things I've noticed in a lot of teachings is, you kind of referred to emptiness dancing, how there's just this living dynamic, that there's a kind of dry emptiness where there's a sense of awake awareness, but it's very vast, and there's something really wonderful, and yet there's no tenderness. And what feels crucial is, and you talked about this earlier, is that we sense the awareness that is in and through our bodies. And it means really living and feeling from the inside out, that awareness that's in and through our bodies and through and around in every direction. And that is continuous space that's filled with the light of awareness. It's whole. And then when something comes up, there's a natural tenderness in the response. It's like the Tibetans talk about the three qualities of awareness as being that openness and that wakefulness, that knowing, and a natural tender responsiveness. And we don't get that third quality unless we're really embodied, inhabiting it. So I feel like the more glimpses, and I want to name right here that I'm going to be the one to bring it up. Loch has a new app that is just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And it has all different pathways to glimpsing, to really sensing the larger truth of what we are, whether it's, a 1 minute practice or a longer practice. And so I just want to bow to you, Loch, because I know the amount of energy and what it takes, blood, sweat, and tears to create an app. And it's really wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it just felt like it's the delivery system or the contact place that people need in the midst of a busy life, and that because it is already here, they can do a glimpse and then what I call marinate, for longer periods of time instead of meditate. You just glimpse, recognize, realize, embody, feel open-hearted, and now turn off, put the phone away, now. But you have, now you're kind of given a short pointing, and that's been my interest, like you, is how to bring this into contemporary forms, to translate not only the language from the cultures of contemplatives of all traditions, not just, you know, from Western traditions as well as Eastern traditions, and psychological traditions and neuroscience traditions of, you know, freedom and joy and maturity as well, and give tools that are experiential rather than just written supports. You know, this is something that I felt would be a way to share, you know, with people so they could make it part of their lives wherever they are. So yeah, so it's fun. Yeah, and as you say that, so I think that, you know, and that's kind of how I set up like the intro course is kind of like natural calm is the first one, which is calm abiding, shamatha, but different ways to do that. And then the second one is types of mindfulness, deliberate and effortless. And then embodiment. And then I introduce a kind of way of doing this called local awake awareness, which is a way to actually unhook and drop and have awareness know itself, both within and outside, and rather than efforting to do it or trying to imagine doing it, or and then embodiment and what I'm calling there awake loving flow, which you and I have translated in 12 different ways because we want to try to get at it somehow, like open-hearted awareness, you know, Ram Dass called it loving awareness. You sometimes call it open-hearted presence. So there's something there, or heart mind.
Yeah.
Those three kind of moves from, you know, being introduced to mindfulness, and which it unfolds naturally through Theravada insight, or to point to the pure awake awareness, and then to point to the non-dual, which in Buddhism, non-dual emphasis isn't just non-dual awareness, pure awareness, it's actually the awareness that is not other than the aliveness. So that's the embodiment. It's like, oh, they're not two. That there's what's called in the Mahamudra same taste or simultaneous mind. So this, and then what Thich Nhat Hanh so beautifully called interbeing. So that grounding, interbeing, interconnects us to everyone. And then the operating system, we don't have to go back to create a thinker and a doer in order to be a calmer version of our small selves. But this heart mind or open-hearted awareness has that fullness or wholeness, as you say. And so one of the, you know, glimpses is literally feeling how we're identified or attached to thought, and that, you know, it's like a small self riding a horse of our body, looking out of our eyes, and then this local awareness, which is identified or attached, but is made of this spacious awareness, can unhook and kind of drop and know your jaw from within, your throat from within, and then feel completely embodied, and then find this heart mind or heart space that becomes the center. It also drops to the dantian and to the legs and to the feet and to the ground as well, but kind of is connected from, and it's, you know, many people who this is a good match for, some glimpses don't work for everybody, but those who find it literally just like, oh, I'm home. Like this is, I've been trying so hard from here to get there by being here. So
I think of it almost as probably 90% somatic.
Yes.
That
Yes.
investigates the most misunderstood step, because so many
Right.
people spiral into the kind of psychotherapy of the stories, and
Yes,
I
that's
should
right.
have and he didn't, and know the beliefs that are there. It's helpful to say, you know, what am I believing right now? Whenever we're suffering, there's a belief that's keeping us identified. And
Mm-hmm.
to know that we can discover that belief, but we don't have to believe our beliefs. You know, we
Yes,
really don't have to believe our beliefs. They're, as I think it was Sokni Rinpoche said, they're real, but they're not true.
that's right. Real but not true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to see the layers of beliefs, actually a portal back into the body. A lot of mindfulness teachings for years was, get out of the head and come into your body. But in a
Mm-hmm.
way, there was a bypass of
Yeah.
stories that are part of the narrative, but they're actually a portal to what's stored in our body. And if we try to
Right.
step away from the stories of being abandoned or being betrayed or whatever it is, it's harder to actually connect and be intimate with what's alive and locked in our bodies.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Because the the protective parts of us that are strong and often the ones rejected, are protecting something that we care about, something that's deeply precious. So it's that, so to be curious toward them and even not even to transform negative emotions into positive. So even that transformational, there's some levels of that that are helpful, but ultimately the meeting of them as as the other eyes, ignorance and interconnected and innocent and interdependent. So the sense that 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 what is the saying that the reason that being in a human body is the perfect vehicle for awakening because of the suffering. So it gives us that. So that it gives us that ability to see that it's not two, that there isn't a problem from love, and that doesn't mean we're not healing or we're ignoring or we're passive. That there is action and interaction. That, but that the untying of the knot or the detoxing process for everyone goes at a different pace. And certainly with our colleagues, bringing forth trauma these days with, Gabor Mate and, the body keeps the score with Bessel, van der Kolk, and others that it's becoming. So now the key is to bring to that is that the small self or the ego cannot handle trauma. It's no matter how smart or psychologically trained, the reason it's repressed is because it can't bear the unbearable. And so it's only by upgrading to forms of mindfulness and compassionate presence that isn't just an attitude or another part that's trying to be a polarized part that's just like, I'm hurting. Well, you shouldn't be hurting. I feel compassion towards you, like, okay, so who's compassionate toward those two parts? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I am right there with you that with that story of what are you unwilling to feel, there's an intelligence to being unwilling to feel when it's trauma, and there's not enough of that authentic resourcefulness, and you're
Mm-hmm.
describing it as really living from a more full sense of presence because
Mm-hmm.
it's the presence slash love
Mm-hmm.
that actually frees up the identity of a traumatized self. And sometimes it takes for many people, because trauma is so much in the society, it's in so many of our bodies, it takes a lot of emphasis on the practices that just create safety and love, that really remind us of our belonging. And actually not going right into where the pain is, but really resourcing with ourselves and not alone. I mean, that's the power of connecting with others, whether it's friend or a therapist or a healer, or we now have Cloud Sangha, which is a online community of mindful friends who just to explore this unfolding together. We need each other. It helps us realize that it's not so personal, which is some of the agony of it is feeling like This is happening to a separate self that's deficient, and this trauma means I'm really, really broken. And as soon as I'm able to say, wow, I go to a very deep place of angst about such and such, it begins to heal because we enter that broader sphere that you were describing. But it takes some time of that
Hmm.
resourcing
Yeah.
to be ready and able.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Some, the sensitive human beings are often the ones who come to meditation as well. So they often have the sensitivity. They're looking for a sensitive uh, cure and salve. Um, so that gradual support and love and whatever works for different people. But certainly one of the things that can, has been held somewhat is the belief that, well, the direct introduction to awake awareness shouldn't be done until you are healed or it's an advanced practice. But often I've found, and even working in outpatient clinics, in Brooklyn and the Bronx, that, at the right timing, people do have access, even if they've had trauma and haven't
Absolutely.
developed a strong ego.
I'm
So they
right
don't have
there
to
with
get an
you.
ego.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is not like a progression where what's always and already true,
Mm-hmm.
that loving awareness isn't, and we've all had glimpses, and
Mm-hmm.
the more the better. It may be that when someone's really stuck, they can't follow a sequence that will enlarge them, that might be some of the traditional ways of disidentifying. One of the things I found more and more with people that I teach and work with is the power of prayer. At times we're very stuck in that separateness. And it's John O'Donohue, that the poet and mystic, says that prayer is the bridge between longing and belonging. And we all have this longing to belong. It's just part of our DNA. And if we get really in touch with it, inhabit it in our body and feel the sincerity of it, and out of that place, you know, reach out towards a larger truth, a larger love, the power of that longing connects us. It's like the longing is love calling us home, is the way I think of it. And you said so beautifully before, suffering is awareness sending the message that we're stuck in something smaller than the truth. We're in that cocoon, and so prayer helps us to connect with a larger reality. And the beauty is it's one of those practices that begins in a dualistic frame of mind and dissolves the duality. And I practice enough myself that I can, with prayer, that I know how, if I'm feeling really small or I'm kind of caught in being down on myself, and I'll sense that prayer of, please love me. Please may I
Mm.
feel loved and held and belonging. And then the yearning actually opens me to, there's a one teacher put it, love is always loving you, that there's just
Mm-hmm.
love and there's still a you for a little bit. But as we let in that love, as we really let it just bathe us, we start
Yeah.
discovering the awareness that is already inside and lit up and loving
Right.
too. And then that sense of separateness from that loving awareness dissolves. So I really encourage people
Mm-hmm.
to experiment. It's all an experiment when they're caught in separateness, the different ways to bridge to a very heart experienced, opening sense
Right.
of belonging.
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah. I think, it's a very kind thing of you to to bring that back in some ways, because I think some of the secularization, particularly of Buddhism more than even yoga or other Eastern traditions, was to take out the religion and to make it more available for people who have actually had either traumatic religious experiences or was forced on them, or there were other reasons that it wasn't the best place, and they're looking for something that's simple and soothing and, working with their own consciousness. But prayer or reaching out to something greater is in all Buddhist traditions. And it's also in, secular traditions like recovery communities, prayer and meditation, just call it power greater than yourself, like whatever that is, it's just not you, you know, and resource with the source. What's that? And, say, help or thank you or just open to, to nature and to the universe but to not stay in and just meditate in and just try to, do the work that doesn't open to the mystery and to something that is undefinable, but palpable once you find a way, and especially people who are devotional types of people, they need that so that it doesn't, because you and I make sure they don't do it to us, because that's the key. That's one of my main things.
Yeah.
Like we're not playing guru here. It's like it's within you, and look bigger or more in or more out, and resource with community, but find that that plugging in to something greater, and whether it's talking or singing or
Dancing.
chanting,
Yeah.
dancing, just feel that there's an openness to something you don't have to define.
And the beauty is, as you open to it, there is a natural space of wisdom that reveals that there was no self there. It's like it is part of dissolving that identification. And I remember one teacher, it might have been Ramakrishna, but I can't remember, said that if you can't get rid of that self-identity, then just dedicate it to love, dedicate. It's like, if you can't get rid of the self-identity, then cultivate gratitude or devotion or prayer or being in nature and just feeling, oh, I love this is me, an expanded part of me. And that kind of bridging then actually frees up the identification. So it's a very cool pathway from dual to non-dual.
Yeah, and it is that, it is that, finding the love that's greater than you, that is who you essentially are.
Yes.
So there's the non-dual.
Yes.
So and then you can actually say, then you can feel, I am love. Oh, I don't need to get love. Love's already here, because it's not love with a small L or a type of love, but it's the love that you didn't, it's the unconditional love, the unconditioned love. Yeah. So
as you say that, I'm so aware that for so many people, as soon as they touch into that more of that sense of freedom, there's a tendency to then move right on to the next thing. And neuroscience is such a support in this, talking about how for a realization to really stick, for it to be really deep and pervading, we need to actively install it, like spend 15 to 30 seconds, just attending to, oh, this, the isness, that's, just learning to stay some. And that's what creates the familiarity. So whether it's through gratitude or through that bridging of love or prayer, or whether it's through a guided glimpse that you do, it's that intentional getting familiar, getting curious. What is this like? Curiosity is, oh my gosh, there's the twin pathways of curiosity, loving the truth and loving love.
Yeah, loving love.
And we all have we all have both, and we sometimes lead with one or lead with the other. And I'll share with you, I was just with a very dear friend who's probably got a week or two to live, maybe 3, Roland Griffiths, who's very known as a
Right.
pioneer in
Yes, sure.
psychedelics.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we just, I had the honor and privilege of about 3.5 hours with him a few days ago. And here's this person who is on his way out and yet utterly curious about the whole passing. And it's like there's unpleasantness going on, just as you said, you don't have to get rid of the unpleasantness. It's just that his curiosity is keeps unlinking him to a larger space of gratitude and wakefulness and openness, so that there's a profound quality of acceptance that's, when I'm with him, there's a part of me saying, "Well, so what can I learn more about, facing death close up?" And wow, curiosity.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's so amazing. His work is so important, I think, for so many people. And, having also been with people who are passing, just walking in the room is such a sacred experience.
Yep.
It's there's like a, with most people, sometimes it can be very agitated, but it's very full of something, Sometimes people are early on, clinging, but others who have kind of started that process are opening. And, I've spent some time, even was fortunate with my mother 4 years ago, who had a stroke and then was in the hospital. And my wife and I just slept in the small one person
Mm,
hospital bed next to her
mm,
over the night, and would just, hold her hand and just
mm,
talk to her. And then and then we were there with my brother and sister-in-law, just talking and kind of laughing. And then Paige, my wife, just said, "There." And we looked over and she just took that final breath, and then we just all just gathered around her and just thanked her and prayed and spent this time. So it's, and the thing is, she lived a good life. She lived a full life. That's all I mean, I feel like, I don't know what would happen if tomorrow, but I feel like for me it's dessert now. It's like if it were time, I would hope, like Roland, I could face it, because the now is so eternal. I,
yes.
I mean, I don't know if that just sounds like a. Hope that doesn't sound like like a like a card, But it literally is like, that's the
Yeah.
preciousness of having been, yeah, in like you're saying, is the very great fortune to be with people at that time.
Ah,
And people talk about the birth of babies, but this is the other birth of, right?
it is, and, this has been a year of it for me, and
Mm,
I just keep noticing that as the body is passing, there's this transparency
mm,
that
mm,
happens, and it's
mm,
much easier to sense the truth of what you said, that timeless
mm,
spirit that
mm,
is living through. And I tell myself, as my body is doing its aging things, that okay, the
yeah,
body's going down, but the awareness is waking
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
it's a trade-off, but
That's
I'll
right.
go for awareness,
Yes,
and
yes.
there's a great Bhutanese saying that if you want to be happy, contemplate death 5 times a day.
Mm,
And I think it means the death of the moments as much
hmm.
as anything else,
Yeah.
that the more we feel like, "Okay, you and I are together right now, and then
Hmm.
this particular encounter will pass,"
Mm,
and sensing the comings and goings allows us to tap into the mystery that is utterly still and eternal and present. It's a gift. So
yeah.
it is a beautiful training to tend towards death in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just kind of called back to something you were saying before. It's kind of bringing these together, what you would call the, the fullness of you. Samsara and nirvana would be one way to say it,
Yeah.
but, that as we are, had the great good fortune of stumbling into this um, gift of, you know, um, this world of meditation and consciousness and psychology and healing. That, when we speak, I just, some people, as you say, like, oh, I don't feel that. I don't want, I want that. I'm in pain. That's too hard. That's too difficult. It's like, I was there too. I'm still, I still have certainly fullness of experience, and, bring it on. It goes through a detox process that there was, I can remember just a couple of years ago, just sitting at a table with a friend and just starting to shake and then feel all this fear. And he was like, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, it's nothing personal." and I was like,
That's
"What am I
great.
saying exactly?" And then I said, "Wait a minute. What it is it something's moving through, something's shaking and baking here, and I'm just sitting here with you, letting it happen, and I'm not even tracking how early it is or whether it has something or how it got triggered. Not sure, but it's clearing through." And then there is, like you said about neuroscience, there's something about, they say that emotions in the neurons is what takes experiences and embodies them. So that's why trauma or negative experiences get bound in the body. So the importance of bliss for me is really important. Or, bliss, you could say, is a form of love. You could say bliss, you could say joy, loving kindness. But that, even relief, even like, but letting that not be a passing, like, okay, that was nice. Now let's go do something. But letting it, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, marinate the body in open-hearted awareness and let the bliss go, follow it back to the essential bliss or the unconditional love, which now it's become more, it's not like the passing bliss with a small b. I mean, it is in some ways, but it's like, sometimes I say it's like that most intense bliss in the body spread out thinly throughout the universe. It's kind of like just, and that, not that everyone can experience that, but when there's moments, so again, it's like, that's why I call it glimpses. So glimpse is not a meditation state. It's not a experience. It's not a positive experience, or it's actually a shift from the openness to be aware, have recognition of the awareness, to realization that I am the awareness that's embodied. And then it's recognizing itself. The glimpse is, oh, this new intelligence is aware of itself being here with whatever is happening. I'm not doing it.
Taking that with me, especially the part of the bliss spreading out thinly through the universe. I'm going to go with that ride.
That's a good, but it does get it is the important, because there is some kind of almost a little, can be a Puritan quality to some of the Buddhist practice. So it can be a little, and there's a need, just that, from the overactiveness to, okay, just sit still. Okay, well, I want to get up, like, okay, just sit a little, there's a little discipline here, but then it's leading to freedom and dancing and joy. And
we need to celebrate. I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh said that it's not enough to suffer. You have to touch peace also, and that includes love, gratitude, joy, wonder. We need it. It's part of who we are. It's more that we have conditioning to focus on the negative, so we need to undo that conditioning by just what you're saying, attending to the sweetness.
Having a colleague who's like-minded and like-hearted is such a gift. So I really thank you, honor you, and all you do.
It's a pleasure to walk together, dear.
Yes.
Blessing.
Such a delight. Thank you. So our usual habit is to be in our heads, working from conceptual thinking, and dualistically perceiving that we're a subject and an object. When we're able to shift and unhook from our thinking mind, we can drop into our body and discover awake awareness and our senses. As we do, we'll be able to realize that there's another kind of intelligence that's often called heart-mind or open-hearted awareness, and that this is a non-conceptual intelligence. So let's feel what it's like to shift from head to heart, to shift from conceptual thinking to non-conceptual awareness. In order to do this, we're going to unhook local awareness from thought and have it drop down below our neck. So find a comfortable way of sitting. You can have your eyes open or closed. Take a deep breath and just notice the activity in your mind and your brain. Notice that awareness is there and aware of thinking. And now, simply unhook local awareness from thought and have it begin to slowly move down through your neck. As local awareness unhooks, it is where knowing is happening. So feel that you are knowing directly from within your throat, and then, like an invisible bubble, local awareness can move down into your upper body and find a location where local awareness is aware of both sensation and awareness. Check and see that you're not looking up to thought to know, and you're not looking down from your head to know what's going on in the middle of your chest. Awareness is unhooked. It has moved like an invisible bubble, like a balloon, down to the middle of your body. Feel that it's comfortably knowing from there. And now feel as if from this open-hearted awareness, there's an intention to treat this bubble or balloon as if it's a balloon of intelligence that's buoyantly filled with air and is resting in the water of your body. Just keep the knowing sense down from its habit of going back up to the head. Just apply the easiest intention, just as if your hand were on a balloon filled with air that's in the water. So you keep it halfway in the water, feel the habit of it going back up toward your head, toward thinking, and yet you let the center of intelligence remain down within your heart mind. Stay there. Don't look to thought to know. Look to awareness, and then awareness can know thoughts that are coming and going. Feel that awareness is knowing without referencing thought. Feel the kind of knowing of this non-conceptual awareness. Feel what it's like to bring the heart-mind online, to break the habit of orienting by thought. Just a gentle feeling of retraining intelligence You can have the feeling of saying, stay, stay, stay. Playful but intelligent and intentional. So that now you just allow yourself to feel what this new knowing is like. There's a not knowing by not going to thought, but then there's a new knowing, a not knowing that knows, that comes online, that is connected to a different level of mind, to a different place of consciousness. See what this is like to stay balanced inside and out. Just resisting that pressure to go back up, that magnet to pull you back to thinking, to locate yourself in your head behind your eyes. If you go up, just return and bring a little intentional, playful retraining to this globe of awareness that is your open-hearted heart-mind. Remain and retrain. Stay, 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 and know. Enjoy. Thanks for listening. This podcast is offered freely. And if you've enjoyed this, please download the free trial of our new app at mindfulglimpses.com. There we offer daily micro meditations and in-depth programs to support your awakening.